Okay. Go ahead and talk for me, guys.
Test, test, test. Can you hear this?
Yep, we can hear you.
Talkie,
You're coming
talkie.
in
Talkie,
loud
talkie.
and clear.
Talkie.
All right.
Perfect.
We've got a lot of show to cover, guys. So let's get into it.
All right.
I'm not going to waste any time, except for this time right here that I'm wasting. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And each week on this show, we like to take turns making each other watch movies that one of us has never seen before. But this week's a little bit different. We have a lot of things going on. First of which I want to talk about, because today's a very special day. Today is the 8-year anniversary of You Have to Watch This podcast.
Wait, it's today.
It's today. I looked it up. Our very first episode went out on March 13th, 2016. So this is our 8th year anniversary. And there's many better ways to be celebrating than Joe Dirt. But here we are.
We didn't plan this.
We did not plan this.
Congratulations, Devon.
So this
Did
is,
it, guys.
well, congratulations, Ryan. Devin hasn't been with us for the whole 8 years, but
That's
No,
right.
no.
he's been here for a majority of it. So
Congratulations on his movie pick being the one that landed on the 8th year
yeah.
anniversary.
Well, that leads me into the next part of this. Not only is it our 8-year anniversary, but we do have a significant milestone coming up for the show, which will be our 300th episode.
That's crazy.
So stay tuned we're going to figure out what that looks like, what we're going to do. We're going to do something special for it because it's 300 episodes. Yep. Why not? We're going to start it all over again and rewatch everything. You have to rewatch this podcast. But yeah, I just wanted to say 8 years is significant, and I didn't want the day to go by without acknowledging that. So guys, thank you for 8 years of the podcast. I'm calling it quits now. We're just going to drop it. No. Could you imagine if I was like, okay, if 8 years, I'm done. Yeah, let's just walk away.
Okay. Signing off, guys. Have
fun. Yeah.
Click.
Yeah. So we have some business to take care of at the top of the show. As we talked about, today is Devon redeeming his win for the Oscars last year. We have to talk about who won the Oscar bet this year.
Yeah, we do.
So we have each tallied up our ballots. Did you guys watch any of the Oscars this year? Did you see anything
Not even a little bit. Okay.
It wasn't available on streaming.
I
Yeah.
saw John Cena.
Okay.
I saw John Cena.
All of John Cena.
Too much of John Cena.
Okay, so I keep on hearing about this, and every camera angle I see is just a blank stage. What the hell are you guys talking about?
You can't see him.
Get right.
No, it's a floating
done.
envelope. No, I saw that bit. I saw the I'm Just Ken performance.
Ooh, was that good?
It was good. Yeah. And then also the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito coming out and presenting.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
I saw
that. It was amazing.
I saw Emma Stone's acceptance speech as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not by choice. Somebody was watching it next to me on a plane, and I had to watch it.
And then John Mulaney's tribute to sound, where he's like, without sound, we wouldn't have great lines like, I'll have what she's having. You're going to need a bigger boat. Or he was in the Amazon with my mother researching spiders when she died.
Really good.
Yeah. But we have our ballots done. So if you're new to the show and just catching up with us now, each year we go through and fill out our ballots for the Oscars to see who we think is going to win. After the Oscars, we reconvene and talk about who got what right, who got the most points, and whoever has the most points becomes the Oscar bet winner and gets to break the format of the show and pick whatever movie they want, regardless of who's seen it or hasn't seen it. Any movie that's outside the format of the show, we can talk about, which is why we are talking about Joe Dirt later on in the show.
I used my thing well.
We're gonna start with Ryan. Ryan, how many points did you get?
8.
You got 8.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
I got
Okay.
8 right.
Okay. Are you were you counting the, just out of curiosity, you weren't counting the documentary and shorts, were you?
Well, I mean, I got that one correct anyway, but then in that case, it'll be 7.
Okay, you got 7. Okay.
Yeah, I counted those 2, by the way, because I also got 2 of them right.
Okay, you did, but we said we weren't going to count those for the bet.
I know, but they were fun because I got them right.
Okay, you did get
Yeah.
them right. Okay.
Yeah, so 7.
Okay, because I'm not counting those in the grand total for what I have.
Okay, got it.
Devin, how many did you have?
Also 7.
Okay. With those stipulations that you.
With
Okay.
the stipulations. Otherwise, I had 9.
Okay. I got 6 for you. When I
You got
counted
6
your
for me?
ballot.
I'll run through it again.
Yeah. Because we weren't counting documentary feature film, documentary short, animated short, or live action short.
No. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I did do 6. I got live action short right as well.
Okay.
Whoops. 6 it is.
Okay.
Oh, I did the worst this year.
Yeah. I got 7. So Ryan and I tied.
Nice.
So yeah, we have a tie. So
Now we need to go to the Razzies and look at.
I checked this.
yes.
This will be
We
the
all-
tiebreaker.
Did we all
Yeah.
check the Razzies?
I did not check the Razzies.
We did not.
I did.
Okay. So that will be our tiebreaker. Who had what right for the Razzies?
Okay, so for worst movie or worst picture, the winner was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. None of us got that right.
Okay.
For worst actor, we had picked Vin Diesel, Jason Statham / Vin Diesel, or Russell Crowe / Chris Evans. We all got that wrong. It was John Voight for Mercy.
Okay.
And for worst actress, the winner was Megan Fox, and only I got that one right. You guys both guessed Helen Mirren.
So what I'm hearing is we both just won the Oscar bet.
You both just won the
Yeah.
Oscar bet.
Okay. So we each get a wild card to play at any point here in the near future for the show.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
You guys will use it well.
Oh, I think I know what my pick's going to be.
I can't wait.
So, but yeah. All right. Well,
Well done, guys. Proud of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, picking Oppenheimer for a lot of things was probably a smart bet on my part. So,
What are you guys' thoughts and feelings about the winners, though, aside from the fact that you beat me? Did you think anyone got snubbed? You think anything was right or wrong?
I haven't seen Poor Things. Emma Stone as Best Actress, I think, because it was such a, like, everyone thought it was going to be Lily Gladstone, and then
Yeah.
it wasn't. That's the biggest letdown for me, I think. Otherwise, I'm happy with all of it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it was my second choices one, like
Sure.
like Devine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Happy that she
Mhm.
won. I think the only reason I didn't pick her to begin with was one of you did, and I was like, I'm going to be different.
Mhm.
So, but no, I'm happy that Godzilla won.
Me too.
I am also happy that Godzilla won, even though I don't agree with it.
But the shoes they wore were incredible. Did you see
Okay.
the shoes?
We are talking. Yes, I saw the shoes, but we are talking about visual effects.
I know.
This is just a standpoint that I have. I love Godzilla.
Hmm.
I do. I'm a huge fan. I love the fact that it finally got nominated and it finally won an Oscar. As a fan, awesome, amazing. I love every meme I've seen. I've saved a bunch of them. I'm happy about it. But the visual effects in Godzilla is strictly about Godzilla and the scenes that he's in, and he's not in the whole movie.
Hmm.
There are characters in the creator that visual effects needed to be done at a high standard level that were in the whole movie in almost every scene.
Yeah.
Which is
All right.
better.
That's
That's it. We
Fair.
can move on.
Fair.
That-
yeah,
that's
let's move
just
on.
yeah.
Let's move on. All right. So we reached the part of the show where we talk about things we've watched in pop culture over the last few weeks. We're a bit behind. We usually do this weekly. We did not do this last week when we picked our Oscar picks, which is an online exclusive. If you want to go check that out on our YouTube page, you can go watch that there. But Devon, you went to see a play on the West End.
I did. I know no one's surprised, but this play was actually a little bit different than what I usually see. This one was Stranger Things, The First Shadow. So this is obviously a prequel to the Stranger Things series. It follows. Are you guys caught up with Stranger Things at all?
Yes.
Ryan, are you?
I heard that it's a show. I don't know what platform it's on.
All right, cool. So
we've reviewed it on the show. You got me into Stranger Things, Devon or Ryan. Sorry.
Oh wait, you've seen it?
Yeah, Devon. I thought you would. I said that to be sarcastic. I thought you would pick up on that.
He has an autograph from the science teacher right beside him.
Oh my God, you do. Oh.
Jeez.
Okay, so it follows a young Vecna, which is really interesting, and it shows Vecna's backstory, and then it also shows the backstory of several other characters that, hey, you didn't know also happened to go to high school with Vecna, which was very, very fun. So if you ever wanted to see what young Hopper was up to. But it was the coolest thing. The special effects in this show are bananas. Better than anything that I think I've ever seen on any show. I'll show you this picture quick. They actually did that on stage. They made that spider thing come up. It was incredible.
Okay. My biggest question for this is, did it need to be on stage?
That's a really good question. The thing is, it plays like the Netflix show. They even do this thing where the whole stage is black and they have several scenes that they'll switch in between. Like it's a TV show. They even do the Netflix boom before it. On stage on West End.
I feel like this was an experiment. It's probably great. I'm happy that everyone has a job doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But to Alan's point, this probably could have been better as a Netflix actual thing for it. But hey, I hope it works out for them.
I mean, so they're now talking about taking it to Broadway. There's a casting call up for it on Broadway now. So if it's ever out by your guys' neck of the woods, I super recommend it. The part that gets me is, in the last season where everyone levitates and then cracks a whole bunch?
Yeah.
They do that on stage, and it's convincing.
Mm.
Yeah. Wee.
We're going to suspend you above the stage and then flop around like a fish.
Yeah, it was incredible. I loved it. I super recommend it, guys. Get your butts over here so you can watch it together.
I mean, I'm just going to wait for them to film it and put it on Netflix because that seems like the next step.
Oh, they almost have to. I mean, the effects, I think, are going to hold up.
Okay. Very cool. I did a weird thing this week. Have you guys ever heard of AMC's Screen Unseen?
No.
So every Monday, almost, I think every Monday, maybe not every Monday, but AMC does this thing called Screen Unseen, where they will tell you the rating of a movie, the length of a movie, and all you know about it is it's not out in theaters yet. So I had this Monday off, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to this because it sounds interesting. For $5, I'll go see a movie without knowing what it is until it starts playing.
Can you tell me what you knew about it and we can guess?
I can tell you what I knew about it, and I knew the film was PG-13.
Okay.
I knew it was 2 hours long.
Okay.
And that was it. That was it. And it wasn't out yet. Yeah, and looking at the list of other things that they've done this year, it's usually about a week or two early from its release.
Okay, I got it. I know my guess.
Okay. What's your guess, Devon?
Oh, I didn't know if we were going to do both. It's Godzilla and Kong. That's what you saw.
No.
Oh, I was so
Ri-
sure about that.
Ryan, do you want to take a stab at it?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea. And that's why I was just like down here.
So do you guys remember how I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife early at New York Comic Con?
Did you see Ghostbusters?
No, I wish it was Ghostbusters. It was
Oh.
Arthur the King with Mark Wahlberg and a dog.
No.
I went into this looking at what's coming out, and I was like, I hope it's Ghostbusters. Maybe it's this David Alan Grier movie, Association of Magical Negroes. Like, I was like, I'd see that.
Oh yeah.
No, it was the Mark Wahlberg dog movie.
Oh.
And I almost walked out. As soon as Mark Wahlberg's name came on the screen, I almost walked out. Because I was like, I don't need to see a dog movie. I'm not the audience for dog movies. But let me tell you a bit about this movie, guys.
Okay.
It's based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a group of adventure racers where you race 200 miles, hiking, biking, mountain climbing through the jungle. Mark Wahlberg's the leader, and on this race, they run into a dog at one of the stops, like one of the rest points. Mark Wahlberg feeds the dog a meatball, and then like 100 miles later, during the race, they find the dog finds them again. It's like the dog is just following them the whole race. It's really cheesy. Like, I was watching this and I was like, I know exactly what's about to happen in this scene. Like, Mark Wahlberg is trying to put this team together and he needs sponsors. So he's meeting with this company to try to get them to sponsor him. And his agent's like, give us a second. And Mark Wahlberg gets up to leave. I was like, he's not going to walk out that door. He's going to turn around and give him his business. And that's exactly what he did on cue. It was very predictable, but at the end of it, I was like, you know what? I don't hate this.
Are you going to make us watch it?
No, I'm never watching this again. But I was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. If you like dog movies, it's decent.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
There are two types of dog movies, and this is important to me, Alan.
Yes.
There's Homeward Bound, and there's Old Yeller. Where are we on this spectrum here? No.
There's Homeward Bound and there's Joe Dirt. This is more Homeward Bound.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. But you get a little bit of Old Yeller in there too. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
The movie, like, it's a true story, so the dog doesn't die.
Okay.
Spoilers for Arthur the King.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you liked it though. I'm also glad you didn't walk out because I almost would have for this.
Yeah, I probably would have if I was in a decent seat that I had access to the aisle. But now that I have easy access to AMC theaters, and once my Mondays are free over the summer, I'm probably going to go to this more often. So stay tuned. Cool. Stay tuned for more AMC Unseen reviews here on the show.
I can't wait for you to see more movies when they come or before they come out. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm here for that. So
hold on, how much Bear Grylls was in this movie?
He narrates the whole thing.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He's the narrator.
Ew. Is he a good narrator?
It's weird because he does the commentary for like the race stuff. Like he's doing it for somebody else, but he's just doing it for the audience. Like, it's very bizarre.
Oh, weird.
It's a weird choice.
Bear Grylls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just catching up to that. As soon as I would have heard his voice, I would have walked out.
Yeah. He's listed fourth in the cast list.
I don't care whose legs I would have to get to like move. I'm like, get me out of here.
Here's the thing though, like the guy sitting next to me, like I wouldn't have a problem asking him to let me out. The guy had a laptop when I walked into the theater. Like, he was just on his laptop doing work, waiting for the movie to start. When the movie started, he put it away. I'm like,
oh, good.
What is this? I've never seen.
How busy is your day? You got to do that.
I don't know, but I was like, is he writing a review? Like, if that's the case, then sit in the back row. Like, don't sit in front of
Right.
people in the
Or
middle.
pen and paper that.
Yeah, pen and paper.
Hey, better than a typewriter. I've seen videos of people doing that. I've seen videos.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
They're just taking the
Um,
piss.
But I will be seeing Ghostbusters in a few weeks. So,
Oh, I'm so jealous.
yeah. All right. Ryan, you didn't watch anything, but you had something you wanted to talk about, right?
Yes. So, I've stated before on the show that like I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. I have everything that's been done from Akira Toriyama, the guy who created the whole thing. I have everything that he's been involved with on like on physical media. He passed away on March 1st, unexpectedly, from a hematoma. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. A cerebral hematoma. It was really unexpected, and this hit me harder than I really thought it would. This show, when Dragon Ball Z came to the States, it was on Cartoon Network on Toonami, and I think like 95 or 94, so I was going from like 5th grade to 6th grade and then onward. And people always talk about like that one show that they like couldn't, like, towards the end of the day, it was the one thing they could think, like, it was the only thing they could think about going home from school. This was my show. I made friendships over this show where like that was the connecting tissue for like early friendships for me when I was younger. The response around the world has been overwhelming. A bunch of people showed up, I believe, in Colombia, in Rio. I could be wrong on the town, or I could be wrong on where this happened, but like 20,000 people showed up to like put their arms up for the spirit bomb in his honor. And like he's when you talk about Goku and Dragon Ball Z, it's in the same category as like Warner Brother cartoons. Like that's how big this one story is. And it's amazing to me how a storyteller in a different country where it would have to cross culture, cross language, can affect someone, even going through all of those barriers. And like when I got the news, like I woke up to it on the 2nd, on March 2nd, and it completely ruined my day. Like it was one of those things where it was like I never thought that hearing about the news that the creator of Dragon Ball Z would almost ruin me. and this practically did. But I have started a complete rewatch. I'm doing one episode a day, which it's going to take me like 2 years to watch everything. And I'm doing it all on the media that I have, because I could go through Crunchyroll, that site, but if I do that, I would be paying $10 a month just to watch one show, and I'm not doing that, even though I'm watching it like once a day. But yeah, so this is going to be my routine until I'm all the way through Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, and then all of the related non-canon movies that he was a part of making as well. So, I've got literally like 2 years worth of stuff to watch.
Dragon Ball Evolution?
No, we don't speak of that. Like,
there is no Warren Boss say.
Did you not see though that the main actor, the guy that played Goku from that movie, apologized and like?
Oh yeah, no.
Recently did because of this.
Yeah, like he recently apologized. The problem, and this is something that I just want to pay my respects to the family and to the fans as well, because I'm in that group, and just that this was a devastating loss for everyone involved. Now to move on from that topic, something that Alan's brought up about when like studios get involved because they just see like a potential cash cow. things get ruined. That's what happened with Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, I literally watched the first 10 minutes of that movie and turned it off because it was basically they basically took all the characters' names, took a rough idea of what they looked like, and then just made up their own thing.
Wow.
Completely destroyed where the characters came from, completely destroyed when they come into the timeline. Like, I understand that you want to do your own thing and kind of tell your own story, but when you diverge that far from the original narrative,
Too far.
let alone just the horrible quality that the movie was filmed in. And I would not be surprised when Evolution came out as to why Akira Toriyama got back into the Dragon Ball universe that he had created and came out with Dragon Ball Super. I would not be surprised because it just like with Godzilla, Toho was going to scrap. Toho was pretty much done with Godzilla after the late 90s run of movies. And then they sold the rights to an American studio to make Godzilla, and Godzilla 98 or
98, yeah.
The 98 Godzilla came out, and Toho's like, oh no, we got to do damage control. And then came out with a new, came out with Godzilla 2000, which is going to be my movie pick for the thing that I won.
Oh, incredible.
With Alan. I'm just going to tell you that now. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Wait, which one? Which one?
Godzilla 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, I think that could be a pick. I've never seen it, so.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing. All right. Well, I'm sorry that this loss has affected you, but it sounds like you're paying a great tribute to him. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying. It's one of those things where I wanted to bring it up just because it's one of those things where it's like I told my wife the other day, I tend to try not to look up to too many people just because he wanted to tell a story. He was talented and everyone loved it. And he was a very private person and he didn't care about the fame of it. In fact, he was surprised that anyone still cared about it. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to treat it like that. Like, he created it. He wants to be left alone. Leave him alone. That's what it is. And then this happens and it's like, man, he didn't know he had no idea how important his work was to me. And I didn't know how important his work was to me until this happened.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a shame it takes something like that to get you to realize how important it is to you. Not while they're around. And
that's the part that sucks a little bit, or else I would have done one or two more fanish type things. Maybe when I was younger, asked for an autograph or something, in the mail or something like that when I was younger. But like I said, I wanted, he wanted to be left alone. So of course I'll leave him alone. But yeah.
I've got a little bit of the same regret when it comes to the Green Ranger. So.
Oh yeah.
Jason David Frank. I met the Red Ranger, but boy, do I regret that.
Really?
Oh yeah, we'll fill you in on that whole thing after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Geez, okay.
He's it's bad when you have another Power Ranger come out and say, you know what? Some people just need a publicist. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's get into today's main topic. Devon's Oscar bet pick for this week, where he could pick any movie regardless of if we've all seen it or not. And his pick was the David Spade comedy Joe Dirt. Devon, take it away from me,
Aren't
please.
you glad I didn't win this again?
So glad.
So my pick was, as Alan said, the 2001 hit comedy Joe Dirt, directed by Johnny Gordon, written by David Spade and Fred Wolf, starring David Spade, Bethany Daniel, Dennis Miller, and a whole bunch of people that I'm honestly surprised to see cameos of, and I hope you guys were too. Before I get into much of this, to be fair, tell me about your history with this movie. I told you mine a little bit last week, but let me hear your guys's.
Remind us quick, what was your history with this?
Yeah.
So this is my most watched movie in my entire life. There was a point in time where I had been going back and forth between my mom's house and my dad's house, and my mom hadn't set up cable, only had a DVD player, and only had one DVD, and that DVD was Joe Dirt. So there are times in my life when I've watched this movie 2 to 3 times in the same day because it's the only thing that we had to watch because there was no cable and no other DVD. And it
This
was like
explains one of my notes. This
it,
explains one of my notes.
it was seriously there was like a 2 or 3 week period where like there was no other choice but to watch Joe Dirt or nothing, so we chose Joe Dirt. And then we got cable and got more DVDs and went, you guys just want to watch Joe Dirt again? And like it just like became like our family thing where we just like watch Joe Dirt again. And like we had like our own little jokes like life's a garden, dig it. And like, you know, all of those like other like oh like I got two microphones right here. Like those like little jokes like we just like kept telling each other and it became this like weird like cultural phenomenon in my family for like a while because it was the only thing that we had to watch. So like I've probably seen this movie like 100 times, not exaggerating.
Wow.
So that's my history with the movie. I didn't think I'd ever get to talk about it on this show, and it's always one of those movies that in the back of my mind I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come back to Joe Dirt, and it's gonna be terrible.
It's
Ryan,
getting
what?
to the point where
Right,
this
right.
is Sorry.
Ryan, what's your history with Joe Dirt?
I had no history with Joe Dirt.
Okay.
So I attempted to watch this at some point back in high school, and turned it off at the double mic moment.
You did not get far.
And you want to know why I turned it off at the
Why?
double mic moment? Because Chris Farley wasn't in it with him.
Oh, that's fair. You do miss him in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His brother's
Alan,
in
what
it
do you
though,
think?
and I when his brother shows up on screen, I was like, he looks so much like his brother.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
So
What's your
my
what's yours?
history with this is I have seen this before, not as much as you, and not as much as I want to admit on the internet. Um, but there were moments in this that, as I was watching it, came back to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, I know what happens next." And I still found myself laughing. And Devin,
Good.
I hate you for that.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. So
No,
that's
no.
actually
No, this
Go
is
ahead.
one of those movies that when it was on, and there was nothing else on, I'd be okay, Joe Dirt, whatever. Put it on in the background.
Mhm.
That was it.
Okay, I mean that's a pretty fair like history to have with Joe Dirt. So, all right, my biggest worry for this movie for years was does it hold up well? So I'm gonna ask you guys before I answer it for me, guys. Does this hold up well?
Well,
Alan.
80% of it.
Yeah, 80% of it holds up well for you,
Mhm.
Ryan?
I was gonna say, in what sense?
right.
Because there are things in here that don't age well.
Yeah, was it still an enjoyable movie for you to watch, knowing that there are jokes and gags and bits that just didn't age well because comedies don't age well?
Yeah, I think it still works because it made me laugh. If a comedy can make me laugh once, then I think it's a success. Because
Okay.
comedy is subjective, and if it makes you if it gets to you once, it's done its job.
Yeah, that's
So
fair. For me, on this like my 101st rewatch of it, I am now a much older person and took a lot different of tack of what this was. Because like kind of growing up, I think I realized something kind of not great about me. And I think some of the humor that I found so funny in the original one was humor at Joe Dirt's expense. Because it was like, ah, look at this redneck. It's funny to laugh at rednecks because all of my family are rednecks. And like I
yeah,
think it was more of like that cathartic kind of humor that I took away from it originally when I watched it. But this time, like he's really sympathetic. I really like him as a character. And like I laughed for different reasons than I did last time and at different jokes that I know that like 11-year-old Devon did not understand.
this movie, watching it as an adult, reminds me a lot of Forrest Gump.
I was gonna say this movie is Forrest Gump for Gen X.
So I watched. I wasn't gonna. I was gonna talk about this at the very end, but the movie's aware that it is Forrest Gump, because in the sequel, he literally is sitting on a bench, talking to somebody about his life as the framing device for the movie. He helps form the band Leonard Skinnerd because he runs into them. Like the second one just turns into Forrest Gump. Like the movie understands what's happening.
Okay, so I say that. So did 11-year-old Devon know that about 30% of this movie was just jokes and reframing from other movies?
The only other thing that I caught was the it puts the lotion on the skin was probably from Silence of the Lambs, and that's it.
That was my introduction to Buffalo Bill.
Me too.
Like I saw this before Ryan made me watch Silence of the Lambs on the show. Yeah. So when Buffalo Bill came on in Silence of the Lambs, like, oh, it's like that scene in Joe Dirt.
Well, and I don't think I remembered this scene from Joe Dirt when we did the Silence of the Lambs podcast. I think like when you asked me when have you seen parts of this movie, I think I went, oh, The Simpsons, and completely forgot that they reference it in Joe Dirt.
Yeah, pretty heavily, I might say. Like this has got to be the most like in your face reference I've ever seen of that scene, or from a character. But yeah, that's fun stuff. Okay.
Well, I'm happy that it at least kind of held up for you guys. So I want to know then, was there any celebrity or actor that you were really surprised or delighted to see in this? Because I had that this time, like knowing like who people are. I loved the fact that Kid Rock was in it because he fits so well with this. I was like, Kid Rock.
Here's my notes on that.
Uh-huh.
Literally as soon as he popped up on the screen, I wrote, WTF, is that Kid Rock? And then ... And then like 30 seconds later, oh God, it is Kid Rock. And that's not good. That's not a good note. Like, I'm just telling you right now. Like,
he has my favorite line in this movie, though. Why don't you go to McDonald's and get some Whamburger with some French fries?
See, my problem was that I probably heard that insult from someone in high school at some point, and didn't even catch it.
Didn't clock it.
No. Not that I didn't clock it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that because the words are so close together, that like they're so close to the actual words that with the way that my brain processes information. Because to be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for the subtitles being on when I was watching it, I wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So it's funny that you bring up Kid Rock, not Chris Rock. That's a whole different Rock.
Whole other person.
Although this movie would be a lot more interesting if Chris Rock was playing that character.
Yes.
I saw a meme yesterday that I shared with my wife, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna do what I did to her with you guys on the show here. I'm gonna show you the meme format. So it's Margot Robbie looking terrified, and then screaming in the second shot.
Yeah.
The text in the first bubble is "Werewolves of London" by Warren Zevon. No, all summer long, Chris Rock.
They do it the same riff.
Yeah, Kid Rock is in this. That's all I got.
He is certainly in this.
He's certainly in it. For me, the one celebrity that I always like to see.
I was so hoping that was it.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
My favorite scene is him like pushing the like giant like push broom down the hallway and stopping and having a whole conversation to the fire extinguisher box in the hallway.
Talking to my guy all wrong. Looking at him all wrong.
He's in his own world. He's doing what he needs to survive doing that job, and just letting his brain just run so he can physically do this mundane job every day. It was great.
For me, it's a little bit Taxi Driver. Like
it was.
Yeah. And I think this was my introduction to Christopher Walken, knowing who Christopher Walken was. Because I think I had seen Batman Returns before this, but I had no recollection of who Christopher Walken was. But at a certain point, Christopher Walken started being in things in the early 2000s. Like, oh, the guy from Joe Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, rewatching this made me realize a lot about myself, and I'm not okay with that, Devon.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah. So my character person for this, mine,
Mm-hmm.
and when you just have to know that in my notes after their name is the green sick emoji face, not the one that's throwing up, but just the one that's about to, like that.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so my history with Dennis Miller goes back to the 90s when I would watch movies with my dad when I was way too young to watch them. Like, like movies that were on it that started at like 8:30 at night on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
Like not the real bad stuff, but like Terminator, like Terminator, Terminator 2, like those type of things, Aliens.
Yeah, it's like the time.
And then Dennis Miller Live would come on at like 10:30 at night, and my dad would just let me watch Dennis Miller Live, which is basically a precursor to what's that guy that I purposely forgot his name that does the HBO show now? He
Bill
had
Maher?
a show.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
Oh,
So,
Bill Maher. Okay.
So like Dennis Miller was kind of like the precursor to that. It was basically the same concept. Then he would come out, he would tell a joke, he would give his view on current topics, then he would have like an interview with one person or a few people, then crack some jokes, and then they'd move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved his shows simply because Tears for Fears, their one song in it's like Everyone Wants to Rule the World, was the intro song to his show. And it was just a bunch of like dominoes would fall with all of the like CNN news clips of what was going on like that month, and then it was like all the dominoes falling along with that song playing. And I always thought that was so cool as a kid.
So edgy.
Yeah. And then he tried to do Monday Night Football color commentary, and that didn't really work out in like the early millennium, the late 90s. But the fact that Dennis Miller was in this was just a huge shock for me, because I haven't even given a thought about this guy in like 20 years.
Yeah, he's kind of gone off the radar. Like, he's not, he doesn't act
he
much.
went off the rails, then he went off the radar.
Yeah. I think he still does like a radio show or something. I feel like he's still around.
Same thing with Carson Daly was another big surprise. Like, that brought me back to my middle school, and because like 2001, 2002 was like peak TRL time.
Yeah.
I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, and that was me driving home in my car or riding the bus to get home to watch TRL.
Yeah.
Like every single day.
What got me about that scene was looking in the background and seeing the NSYNC No Strings Attached billboard in Times Square.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the TRL that I remember. Like, that's the moment that set was the big deal.
It was. It really like placed it in a really interesting time period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to know, were
Yes.
there any parts of the movie that didn't, from a comedy standpoint, didn't hold up for you guys? That like any jokes that fell flat, or jokes that you're like, okay, I get that was a joke of that time that's not funny anymore.
The whole fireworks salesman thing.
The whole fireworks salesman thing? Like,
The whole concept around that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, that still works for me, because that's become a meme at this point. Because I see that every year around the 4th of July, you see people talking
snakes
about
and sparklers.
Snakes and sparklers, and him listing off a bunch of stuff. And
it's not okay. So when I say the fireworks scene, has nothing to do with fireworks. It has everything with the intention of why Joe Dirt is there to talk to the guy in the first place.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like why he goes to Kicking Wing.
Why he goes to Kicking Wing to begin with. That's what I'm talking about. The whole fireworks thing is funny. Like that whole thing, and like the septic tank that looks like an A-bomb. Funny. The reason why he's there
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't hold up for
Yeah,
me.
that part's not super great.
Yeah.
For me, like I don't understand why the dog had to die.
No, I don't.
Because I was like,
No.
oh, he like shoots, like he like jumps in front of it and gets a bullet in the butt. Like I literally thought it was gonna be Forrest Gump there for a second, and he was gonna like get shot in the ass. But yeah, I didn't remember the dog dying, which was like, oh, that's a choice.
Well,
Okay.
that, and I feel like they changed things up a little bit because the editing for one thing on the dog was so bad. I actually wrote a note on it.
Was
And
it when he got his ball stuck to the porch?
No, it has nothing.
That was
It has
really
nothing to do with that. No. The editing was bad. So
Okay.
this is my moment of when Alan went off about the editing of that one scene in the Freddie Mercury movie. This is my moment to do that. So like dog runs away to get the hunter help because his foot's trapped in the rail yard, like in the tracks. Dog runs away. Cut. He's running by the crap in the front yard of the house. Like they show the dog, like a 1.5 seconds, a 2-second shot of the dog running up to like the motor that's in the front yard and the car seats that Joe Dirt was sitting on. Like it's literally the front yard of the house. Cut. Now the dog is running past a bush in a suburban neighborhood and makes love to a random dog. Cut. Goes back to the scene of where it was running through the crap in the front yard up to them on the steps.
They needed to both have the dog at the end as the happy ending, and they needed him to walk around with the dog's ashes and talk to him, and specifically have an urn that's held together with a skull sticker.
But here's the, you could still have all of that. And in this movie, you did not need to know that the dog stopped for a little hanky during that run. This movie is not that quality where you need to know. It could just be a surprise at the end where she goes, it looks like he had a little sex encounter when he was younger. Like,
I don't know. I think that's kind of funny timing, though, is he's like on the way to go rescue it, smash cut to the dog doing that.
They put that there for one comedic effect, and it's Chekhov's gun. You gotta, if you're gonna show something, it's gonna play into it later.
You don't need Chekhov's gun in this movie. This is not needed.
But it gives an excuse for that cutaway. Like
it doesn't need the cutaway. If I was the studio exec, I would be doing what I was just railing against like 30 minutes ago and saying, this needs to be cut. It doesn't need to be in here.
I mean, if they had just used the scissors that she came out with when he stuck to the porch, then that's true. None of this would happen. So it's all
no. What I'm saying is that this movie is not at the caliber where it's needed to actually show that the dog bred to show a dog later on. And to it be a puppy from that other dog. They could just say that and be like, well, it's a Joe Dirt movie, ha ha ha. And just let it be a funny line.
Remember to spay and neuter your pets, is what we're saying.
Remember to spay and neuter your pets, but not with hedge clippers.
Yeah.
There were a few like vaguely homophobic jokes in here that I just did not like every time very, very bluntly every time they came up, I just kept bouncing right off of them. I'm like, this isn't funny. And I knew they were coming because I remember them, and they just don't hold up better in real life. No. I also really, really, really don't like the Christopher Walken erection joke at all. Like at that part, I was just like, stop it, it's Christopher Walken, stop.
What? He can have his fun too.
No, he can't. No, he can't. Was any part of this movie unexpected? Like, what was your favorite part of the movie? What part was fun that sticks out to you? I have a couple of lines that I think about once in a while from this movie. One of which is, at one point, he gets thrown, and the voiceover goes, "Luckily, my neck broke my fall." And I think that's very funny, and think about that often.
I will always find slight unspoken Sig humor to be funny. One of the moments that I was like, yes, I like that, was when he was doing the alligator bit and he was holding his cigarette because he was smoking, and the ash was as long as the actual cigarette. Like the ash wouldn't fall off. And he's just like, he's holding it and the ash is just there and you're waiting for it to fall and it never does. I personally love that bit, so I'm really happy that it was actually in this movie. Because I've seen that in a few other things.
This is a dumb movie, so I'm going to give you a dumb answer.
Oh, good.
It's the dog being stuck on the porch. Because I have only ever seen this on cable. And I'm pretty sure they don't show that whole scene.
No.
I'm pretty sure that they just cut away and the dog's stuck and you hear it whimpering. I don't remember that. And it caught me off guard and I laughed hysterically.
Okay.
And I'm not okay about that. Like,
so Devon, before
Yes.
you go any further, there's something I have to bring up.
What is it?
This movie affected you more than you think.
Oh, no.
And I told Kristen about this because I'm like, there are going to be movies that I'm going to be showing you guys that I'm sure that at some point you're going to bring this back onto me. And that's fine if you do, because I understand how this stuff works. But I really think you watched this movie so much as a teenager at a really delicate age where you took on more from this than you really should have.
Oh, no, tell me.
And I'm just going to read the note. Oh, God, why am I seeing Devon and David Spade's performance, not the character? So there are moments in this movie where David Spade, in character, is just walking along, taking in the scenery, moving his head, shifting his eyes, being in character, not saying anything, not doing anything that's Joe Dirt, just being Joe Dirt when he's not being Joe Dirt, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You have picked up the slight mannerisms of David Spade, being a quiet Joe Dirt. The way you tilt your head, the way you move your eyes. So when he's pulling the wagon through the empty train station and those three teens come up to him, the moment that they show him, go back and watch this scene.
Yeah.
The moment they show him to right when the first kid says something to him, the way he's moving his head, the way he's moving his eyes. I've seen, you're doing it right now.
I'm so excited to watch this scene now. I've never caught this about me.
I am sure that there are things that I do that I've picked up from movies that I watched a ton from when I was a kid. So it's one of those things you shouldn't be ashamed of it. You shouldn't really be embarrassed by it. It was just something that you picked up because every single one of us, this is a kind of a tie back to when I used to watch Ghost in the Shell a lot. We are all just collections of little pieces of everyone we've ever met.
Yeah.
Because that's how we socialize. As soon as you get is into a new friends group, whether you know it or not, you start to pick up that group's lingo, that group's body language sometimes. And I think you've watched this movie so much that you've picked up some mannerisms of David Spade being Joe Dirt.
I'm
not mad.
I have the scene up right now and I kind of see what he's talking about. I can see it. Yeah, because I've definitely seen you do the gun thing with your arms. You want to go? Come on, let's go. I've seen you do that.
I've done that. Yeah.
Even to the eye shifty thing. So I really wanted to get that out because it's one of those things where it's I paused it and I was like, sweetie, you got to come out here. And she was like, what? And I was like, you've got to see this. I know that you haven't been around Devon as much as I have, but that's Devon that's there. It. That 5 seconds, that's Devon.
Oh man, it makes me wonder what movie I could show you that you would see that for me, Ryan.
Well, we got to find it then. We got to find it.
I have a feeling it's probably something Jim Carrey. If we're talking about comedies.
Oh, I bet it is. We'll have to dig.
I think I have a theory, and it might be my
Yeah.
Oscar pick now
I'm excited.
because it's a movie that I've been wanting to visit. Let's talk about David's. Before we wrap this up, there's something I want to talk about with David Spade as a leading man.
I can't.
You can't.
It doesn't work, does it?
No.
No.
My problem is that, and this is something that I wrote down as well. Yeah. I'm not a fan of David Spade by himself. Like, everything that I like about this movie has to do with either other characters or interactions that he has. Joe Dirt by himself doing the narration, you know, the whole thing about the Boeing bomb and the whole frozen turd icicle thing, like that type of stuff. Like, I don't find David Spade funny. It was the same thing in that show that he was in.
Just Shoot Me.
I remember this.
Yeah, that one. Just Shoot Me. Like,
Yeah.
it was the same thing in that one too. Like, I didn't like the David Spade skits, but I love him when he's with Chris Farley.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I meant before with that comment. Like, he's better as like the other. He's not good when he's the main one.
He's better when he's not by himself, because the only other movie that I'm looking at his IMDb, he's known for this, Tommy Boy, The Benchwarmers, and Emperor's New Groove. Like, post Joe Dirt and Chris Farley's death, what he's best known for has been the ensemble stuff, where he's getting together with Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider and all of them and doing a grown-ups movie or doing a cameo here and there, or television. Like, I think he works better in an ensemble. He's not a leading man, and I don't think it works for me, like, because I too love the Chris Farley stuff that he did. Like, he was such a great straight man for Chris Farley's craziness and physicality, and you just have him be in there, like, and there would be moments where they would switch, where Chris Farley would be the deadpan, and then David Spade would be drunk in the front seat of the car while while he's driving, and have to switch it. But they were such a great duo. And I think David Spade is more of an ensemble actor than a leading man.
Yeah, I'm really with you. As much as I love this movie, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, and I'll make this quick because it's already probably an hour. Devon, you mentioned before that there was something that you were happy that I let you know that I looked up.
Ryan, what's a Hemi?
Okay, so make this really quick. Make this really quick. The cylinder and the piston inside the cylinder. Do you know what I'm talking about at all whenever I say those things? Okay, yes. So when you think of a normal engine, the cylinder has a flat head on it. Yeah. It's got a flat roof, and then the piston on the top is like a fist, and it's flat. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what you're thinking? Normal, like up and down motion?
Exactly it, yeah.
A Hemi stands for Hemi circular. I can't get that word out
gotcha.
Right now.
Hemispherical.
So, thank you. So what it is, instead of having, like, at the top of the cylinder, instead of it being flat, it's like someone took a tennis ball and just, like, molded out the head to be kind of round. So that means that the stuff that's shooting inside of the engine is at a different angle.
Okay.
And then it positions that stuff better to make a more centralized explosion. And then the actual piston itself is molded the opposite of that tennis ball, so that it fits into that rounded head design.
Sure.
So because of the extra space and where the explosion is happening, it gives you more power in that setup than if you had that same diameter of piston and cylinder. Would to have the flat head instead of like the domed head. That's what that pretty much means. And I'm not a fan of that, because there's only one practical use, and that is heavy, big American V8s that do a quarter mile. And that's and that's all it is, because you're putting more weight on the piston.
Right.
I like smaller, lighter engines where you can rev things up a lot faster to go more, RPMs. That's why I like the Trans Am with the slanted 6 that they mentioned instead of the Hemi V8.
Got it. Okay.
I'm more of the, even though yes, it's slower, I'd rather have the Trans Am. The other thing that I thought was funny, you brought My Cousin Vinny to us, right? To have us watch. That was your pick.
That was Alan, I think.
No,
I had
wasn't
seen
me.
it before.
Wasn't me.
Was it you? Did you bring it to watch? Because I've never seen My Cousin Vinny before this show.
No, we had Jared from Rum Runners come on.
It was Jared.
Oh, it was Jared. That's right. Jared, thank you for bringing that on the show. I totally thought that was Devon for some reason.
Yeah.
And so I thought there was a connection here. I was like, this is the second movie that Devon's made us watch where they talk about Positrack. Like, is this some subconscious thing that Devon wants to know what Positrack is? And like in My Cousin Vinny, the sister talks about how, like, oh, this one car, the one wheel will spin and that's it. And then in this car, both wheels will spin because of Positrack and da. At a car that's rear-wheel drive, on the back axle, there's a hub. In the hub, there's a bunch of gears.
Yeah.
And normally, with the way that's designed, when one starts to spin, there's nothing in that hub that prevents that from happening. So it just spins and spins and spins. Positrack, there's like a tiny little metal spring that's in there, along with a bunch of other like circular things that attach. I'm not using the actual words because it means nothing to you. So that's why
I get it.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of discs in there that like whenever that starts happening, it causes pressure to build up. And then because of those discs and that little spring that's in all of the gears, it pushes the power over to the other wheel.
Oh, okay. So then
that's all it is. And so that's why during that scene, I'm like, this is the second movie where this has gotten brought up. And I thought that they were both your movies. And that's why both of those overcomplicated, like YouTube videos I sent you of explaining how that worked. That's why I sent those to you, because I thought it was like, he sent this is the second movie he's had us watch about Positrack.
He really cares about Positrack.
All right. I think that's all we've got on Joe Dirt. Devon, you watched the sequel. Is it just Forrest Gump?
Yeah. So in the sequel, I'll ruin it. I'll ruin the premise for you.
Good,
in the sequel, a tornado takes him back to 1965. He lives out his life from 1965 until when he's supposed to meet Brandy when the dog's balls are stuck on the porch. You get that scene again, but he misses meeting Brandy. And then he has to live out a Back to the Future 2 style life where she meets and marries someone else. And then Patrick Warburton is in it, and he's his guardian angel, by the way. And Patrick Warburton, the angel, takes him back to the original timeline in the end because he learned that he was always rich in family. It wasn't very good, guys.
But, I mean, wasn't that the original premise of the first movie?
That he always had a home, and his home wasn't his family. His home was... Yeah.
This reminds me, usually on the show, we try to find things that we can stream online. I could not find this to stream. I had to rent this. Devon, you owe me,
rent Joe Dirt?
You owe me $4.
Same here.
You owe me $4.
Was it worth the rent? Yes or no?
No. I mean, it made me laugh, but I was angry that I had to rent it. It's like,
guys, it's fine.
No, it's
I will definitely be sending you a public Venmo request.
You better be.
It's just going to be a plant leaf and a thing of snow, because I want everyone to think that I'm asking you for money.
Good.
For something shady.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I think that does it for this week's show. Next week, we've got something fun planned. We're going to be on a special night next week. We're going to be on Tuesday night. We're going to be talking about a film that's dropping on Disney Plus this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be talking about Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, because if the one thing the internet needs is 3 guys in their 30s talking about the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie on Disney Plus. So, yeah.
I'm low-key excited for this, though, actually, because there's something there. There's something there.
I'm curious to talk to you guys about this next week. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitch, like us on Facebook so you can catch our live stream next Tuesday. You can listen. You have to watch this podcast on all major podcasting platforms. You can visit our website at rumrunnerspodcastnetwork.com. And if you're so inclined, you can now support Rum Runners Podcast Network on Patreon. Over on Patreon for $5, you will get video versions of both Rum Runners Podcast and Dark Rum. You'll be able to see a bunch of stuff that goes on before the show, before they officially start the episode, and after they stop. On top of that, once the network gets to 10 Patreons, you'll be able to hear your name shouted out at the end of the episodes over there. There will probably be more benefits coming up there on that Patreon. Some stuff from us maybe. So go ahead and support Rum Runners Podcast Network on Patreon. But yeah, that's all I've got for this week, guys. Tune in next week for the Errors Tour, Taylor's version. For You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And you get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a bull's ass. But wouldn't you rather take the butcher's word for it? Let's see you next week.
Holy shit.